You already know that I am on a bit of a mission to get my old Chevy van back on the road in 2 weeks. I have already spent what feels like an eternity on fixing rust, and in the last video it finally got a new paint job. But in this video I thought we will tackle the wiring. I don't know what it is with these old vehicles, but it seems like every previous owner keeps adding junk to the electrical system without ever removing anything. And all of a sudden you're standing there with a million wires, fuses and relays, and half of them aren't even hooked up. But that changes today. I will remove everything that is not needed, I will clean up the rest, and I will probably add some new stuff. I kind of have to, because, you know, I'm the current owner. First task, remove things. But first, maybe I should talk a bit about why I'm doing this right now. The van is looking like this, and in 2 weeks I need to have it back on the road, so messing with the wiring might not be the right priority right now. You know the whole if it ain't broken, don't fix it thing? And normally I would agree with that. But what if it actually breaks while I'm on the road? Troubleshooting this mess of wiring on the side of the road is quite literally my idea of a nightmare. So in order to avoid that, I have decided to bite the bullet now. Remove everything that's not needed and make sure that every wire that's in the van looks good. Alright, now we can start removing things. I went into this without any real plan. I just grabbed the first loose wire I could find and started pulling it. Prior to this, I had of course made sure that everything regarding the engine and lights and such were working. That way, if something stops working somewhere along the way, I know that it worked before and I can just roll back. The wire I'm pulling here, I'm guessing used to go to the extra light that used to sit on the front bumper. I won't be running any extra lights, so I will pull out all the wires together with the relay. In order to not make a total mess by starting pulling wires through the firewall, I marked the ones that are supposed to go with a piece of tape with a red X on it. The extra light were controlled by this relay, and that relay was triggered from a switch on the dash, so it had wires running through the firewall as well. All that wiring will be tossed out. Here's another loose wire I found. It were connected to this relay here. One side were connected to the power and the other went through the firewall into the cabin. Inside the cabin, they split up. One of them went all the way to the back and into this stray connector. That then split up and went to the other side. into another stray connector. The other wire that went through the firewall went into a switch on the dash. I'm guessing it has something to do with the horrendous lights that were placed on the roof when I got the van. Needless to say, I won't be running those, so all of this can go. I also found a few wires that were damaged and needed repair in some way. I marked those with an exclamation mark. Here I found a short piece of wire attached to another wire that comes from the main harness. So I'm guessing it has something to do with the lights. I have no idea what it's supposed to do, so it will get marked with a question mark. Next up is this enormous double relay. I wonder what that's used for. Post your guesses now, because we are soon to find out. One wire goes to power and all the other ones goes through the firewall. Pretty exciting. They then make a quick stop in my paint protection cover, also known as a trash bag. And finally, one of them ends up in this switch right here. It's a pull switch and it's used to control the gigantic horns that used to live on the roof of the van. So if you guessed that the relay controlled the horn, you were right, and you may collect a thumbs up and a high five on your way out. I will be running a horn, but not the big ones on the roof. So I will rip all of this out. Upon removing the relay, I actually found the original horn. It looks crusty, but I will pull it out and put it in evaporust and come back to it later. Next up is this relay, and it's actually attached to the high beam. That is actually a pretty common modification that people do on these vans. From the factory, the high beam is wired directly to the high beam switch on the steering column. Wiring a high beam like that is kind of bad practice, and it's not uncommon for these switches to get fried. To avoid that, people wire in a relay to control the high beam instead. I will of course keep that relay. The last relay under the hood wasn't hooked up to anything, so I'll just remove it and its wires. To really clean up the wiring, I will need to handle this bus bar. It sits underneath all of this wiring. It's so badly rusted I can't even get the nut off. It's just spinning. So I just cut all the wires and went at it with the grinder. After pulling it apart, I realized that out of all the wires that were connected to it, I only really needed 4. So in the spirit of saving time, I just whacked all of the wires directly onto the battery terminal. Maybe not my best work, but it works, and it will be easy enough to find any electrical gremlins later on. And there's always the possibility that I actually will go back and fix it later. I probably won't, but I might. Maybe. Possibly. After putting the relay for the high beam back in place and 3D printing a little cover for the positive battery pole, I'm pretty happy with the result. It's way cleaner, and to prove it, I have this box of all the wires that I pulled out. Quite a lot. Troubleshooting the electrical system will be way easier moving forward. As an extra little bonus, I decided to change the speakers underneath the dash. If there's one thing that people like to mention when they are talking about removing the dash on a Chevy van, it's that you should change your speakers while you're in there. These are maybe not the best speakers out there, but I had trouble finding decent speakers that fit. The factory speakers are 4x6, and I really didn't feel like going through the trouble to fit anything else. So I went with a pair of 4x6s. They sound decent, about as good as you can expect from a speaker this size. Further down the line, I will install some better speakers, possibly in the doors. I know some of you have expressed concern about this mess of wires right here, but don't worry, most of it is for the stereo and it will get cleaned up as well. Sometime. In the future. Maybe. Possibly. One last thing before you go. Let's have a look at that horn. It's been soaking in Evaporust for a couple of days now. Nope, still no sound. Instead of fixing it, I went out and got a pair of new horns and built this contraption. I put it in place and hooked it up to the factory connector. I then did a deep dive into the wiring diagram and found the wire that are supposed to go to the horn switch in the steering wheel. But I don't have that switch, so I cut the wire and wired it up to my pole switch, and just like that, I have a horn. With that out of the way, we are one step closer to the maiden voyage. But we are not only one step closer, we are also 1 week closer. So in 1 week I need to have this van back on the road for the first shakedown. So keep your fingers crossed, and I guess we'll find out in the next video if I'll make it or not. Until then, thank you for watching and I see you later. Bye!